That's cool. So we're gonna just play a cool little song for you guys, just
Oh,
because we like to play. We learned it a few months ago. The power of love is a curious thing. Make a one man weep, make another man sing. Change a heart to a little white dove. More than a feeling, that's the power of love. Tougher than diamonds, rich like cream. Stronger and harder than a bad girl's dream. Make a bad one good, make a wrong one right. Power of love that keeps you home at night. You don't need money, don't need fame, don't need no credit card to ride this train. It's strong and it's sudden, cruel sometimes, but it might just save your life. That's the power of love. The power of love. First time you feel it, it might make you sad. Next time you feel it, it might make you mad. But you'll be glad, baby, when you found. That's the power that makes the world go round. You don't take money, don't take fame, don't need no credit card to ride this train. It's strong and it's sudden, cruel sometimes, but it might just save your life. They say that only love is fair, yeah, but you don't care. But you'll know what to do when it gets hold of you. And with a little help from above, you feel the power of love. You feel the power of love. Don't take money, don't take fame, don't need no credit card to ride this train. Tougher than diamonds, stronger than steel. You won't feel nothing till you feel All right, cool.
That was
Nice
beautiful.
tune for you guys.
Thank you.
Great, guys.
Very
Good
nice.
work.
Hey, thanks.
Thank you.
Well, really, what we wanted to show is how much fun we have playing music, because that's what it's all about for us.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
could just sit and listen to you for the whole 2 hours and I'd be just as happy.
Well, that's cool, but we have a lot to talk about. So John is going to start out with some fun things.
So, when first of all, everybody can hear me, okay?
Do you want to talk into this?
Okay. Okay. So,
It's real soft.
how about now? Is that better? All right. Okay. So, when we put this together, you know, Julie and I both kind of play it together a lot, and we play separately, you know, quite a bit.
Love your home, dear.
And we have, you know, we have a lot of things that we do. We end up having a lot of conversations about practicing. You know, as it turns out, we have this, you know, a lot of our stories are somewhat similar. And, you know, a big part of the conversation that we end up having a lot is that, you know, I don't know about anybody else, but I don't like to practice. And I hate admitting that, you know, and the more I talk about that openly, the more I find out that a lot of people kind of feel the same way. It's like they, you know, like what
Oh,
I
yeah.
want. I want to be able to just kind of, you know, take some powder and rub it on my hands, and then automatically, magically, I have all the ability that I need and be able to play and just get on with my life. But in order to be able to, what really ends up happening is that I have to just kind of put the hours in and get my 10,000 hours in order to be able to do what I want to be able to do. And I can't tell you how many times I've gone through that and felt just unbelievable frustration, you know, around how to deal with that. But at the end of the day, what ends up happening for me is I just sort of sit down and then just allow the process to feel really difficult and really unintuitive, and I just kind of let myself think that, you know, I don't have any natural talent, that I'm never going to be able to do this, and I just put the time in, and then somehow at the end of the road I'm able to do it, but I got to be able to show up and do the work. So we called it head, hands, and heart because you know, when I teach students in college, that's one of the things I talk about with them a lot, is that being a musician is about balancing head, hands, and heart. So I think I wanted to kind of start there. I'm going to take a second and set up a little PowerPoint presentation that I put together just for you. Let me see. There it is. Okay. Ooh, there it is. Head, hands, and heart. Okay. So what I'm asserting is that most things with respect to being a musician tends to that you work on being a musician tend to fall into these three categories. If you can learn to practice them in a way that keeps these in the correct balance, you will always be functioning at your current maximum potential. So I'm going to talk about that a little bit more. So the head component. So this has to do with any intellectual characteristic of being a musician. Number one might be concentration and focus, listening and hearing, which aren't the same thing, by the way, rhythm, intention, and then intonation. So any intellectual property about being a musician goes into the head category. Okay, so that's fairly straightforward. Hands. This is the physical execution and manifestation of the music that you intend to play. So that could be things like fret hand fingerings, picking techniques, vibrato, bending, the proper maintenance of your gear, making sure your strings are in tune, making sure that you've got the right cables if you're playing an electric instrument, your amplifier if you're electrified, and tone production goes into hands. That's the physical manifestation of the music. Okay, heart, that's the creative expression. It's why we play, and it's why anybody would want to listen. Okay, so on that list I put commitment, imagination, generosity, Okay, now what I mean by that is that really great performers, it really feels like they're giving you something. So that's something I really try to think about when I'm performing is just, try to put myself in that mindset that it's not about people listening to me. It's me having the opportunity to offer you something, and whether you take it or not is another component. But vision, it's the ability to have a sense of why you're doing something. And then finally, perseverance. So that's just simply, if you're faced with something that you're trying to do, just don't give up. Okay? Um, so, okay, so here's kind of everything all on one page. Now, I believe that if you're able to get head, hands, and heart in as much correct balance as you can get them, that you'll be playing at your current maximum potential. And what that really helps me with is sort of choosing what to practice on any given day. So if I show up to practice and I'm playing a song and I keep getting lost, I keep forgetting where I am in the song, then the part that I need to work on is my concentration and focus. Okay? Or if I know how to play the song, I know what the song is, but I'm just not quite moving my hands the way that I want to move them, that's hands. Okay? Or if I'm doing everything correctly, but it's just coming off kind of stale, maybe it's the creative expression. Maybe I haven't thought about like how I want a listener to perceive what I'm doing. So I sort of have this opinion that life kind of has a way of throwing you off balance all the time, and it's your job to try to maintain that balance as much as you can, knowing that you're going to be constantly thrown off. So this is certainly not a perfect solution, but I think it's a pretty good I think it's a pretty good way to start. Um, So before we continue, does anybody have either any questions or comments about any of this? We have a lot of other stuff to cover. Okay, it's pretty
Okay,
straightforward.
I do. Yeah.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay, one of the instruments I deal with is my voice, and that seemed like the hardest one of all because when I play the ukulele, I can see what I'm doing. When I play flute, like I know you put your finger there and this comes out.
Right.
But my voice, even though I know, in some sense, it comes out of my lungs and it goes up through my vocal, apparatus and all that.
Well,
Still, it
that's true.
seems to be the most confusing instrument of all.
Yeah, that's right. Well, you can't really point to an A in your voice.
Perfect pitch, yes, I can.
Wait, no, up a little. Oh, up a little. Oh, okay. Yeah. You can't really do that.
Better to do this.
Right in there.
Are you talking more about the technical aspects, or maybe just knowing if you're in tune? Like, am I singing an actual E? Or
I'm talking about the more technical aspects.
because it all boils down to how music is arranged and music theory and all of that stuff. We're just creating the sound with our body instead of actually pointing to a fret. But there are ways to check in with your pitch, with your tone. You can always, I realized I was singing flat for a long time. And then I just started working with my tuner,
Mm-hmm.
And also, I think when I got more in touch with my guitar, then I started to realize, well, I can tune my voice to my guitar because I know what it feels like when two strings are out of tune. There's this.
Oh yeah,
you know what I mean? So then you kind of can learn. But I always recommend too getting a teacher. Have you ever taken voice lessons or?
I did like about 20 years ago. And I'm in this choir where pretty much every rehearsal is like a voice lesson. So that
Okay, well that's
I
cool.
do kind of get that. Yeah.
But I like to check in and record myself and make sure it's sounding how I think it's sounding.
Well, I've been performing virtually for the last year, and we really hope we never have to do it again. And we all know how awful we sound on the recordings. They said, "Don't worry, when we mix it, it'll all work out." But Oh man,
Well,
it's a real reality check, I tell you.
sometimes you think it's awful, but it's just because it sounds different than what you're hearing.
Yeah, you're
you know?
right.
So to us, we're like, that's how Rosalind always sounds. And it's
That
not
bad.
terrible. It's not terrible. All right. So John spoke a little bit about his frustration with practicing. So it is a universal thing. But I'm just going to talk a little bit about my own personal testimony when it comes to practicing. So I picked up the guitar when I was 15, and I just absolutely fell crazy in love with it. And I just wanted to play all the time. And then I was taking classical guitar lessons, and my teacher came to me and said, you know, Julie, you've gotten to the point now where you really should be practicing an hour a day. And all of a sudden, when I had this number, I started to think, oh my gosh, I don't practice an hour a day. I need to practice an hour a day. And then I started reading magazines, and I saw this article about Steve Vai, his 10-hour practice routine. And I was like, oh my gosh, 10 hours. What the heck? Like, what am I going to be able to sleep? And at that age, like 16, we have 10 hours. We do. What do we do with 10 hours? But anyway, I just started to feel the pressure, right? And then I started putting the time in. I was making progress and doing things, but then there was always this kind of sense of anxiety around my practice where I was like, oh, what if Joe Satriani was watching me? He'd think I was terrible, or, you know, or then I'd picture myself playing a gig and making a mistake, and it would just feel terrible, like it was really happening in my mind, like you're in a nightmare and you can't wake up, but it was really happening in my mind while I'm practicing. So it created this huge anxiety. And of course, you know, I didn't really care because I wanted to play so much. I just thought that's how practice was going to be. It's going to be anxious, it's going to be stressful, and then you get to the gig and then it's wonderful. But then I would still have anxiety at the gigs, you know. And then I just dealt with it for a very long time. And then I made the decision to go back to music school in 2014, and I got to Berkeley. And now there was this even heavier layer of anxiety and stress because of like, I have to keep my scholarship. I'm going to get kicked out if I don't do well. And then my father died when I was in my 6th semester. And something about him dying just really threw me over the edge. I don't know what happened, but I had so much anxiety. I went in and I took my proficiency exam, which is the single most stressful thing anybody could ever go to as a musician. It's this exam at the end of each semester, and you have to do all these things and play a piece. And the piece was never the trouble. It was just the things. And I just freaked out, you know, on one. And thankfully, they allowed me to take it again. So that was cool. But I knew that I was walking on the edge. Like, I cannot function with this. And then I would go play, and I was anxious too, because I was reinforcing this anxiety in my practice. So I had to get through it. And I thought maybe meditation, maybe you know, relaxation, do yoga before I start, and that helped a little. But then I thought, oh, there's affirmation. So I looked all around and tried to find my own affirmation, or, you know, for musicians, and there weren't any. So I just made my own. And it really did help me tremendously to center myself and to say, I don't have to stress out. Like, the practice is what I do. I practice more than I perform. So why, if performing brings me so much joy, can't I experience that while I'm just sitting on the couch or sitting in my music room or playing with John? You know, that's true joy too. So, okay, it just put me on this path. I just had to change my mindset. So then I discovered practice can be like meditative, practicing scales. I mean, you can put on a metronome and 10 minutes goes by like it's nothing. So if you're experiencing a lot of stress, if you start thinking, oh, I'm not good enough, if I'm comparing myself to the next person, John Finn, who happens to live in my own house, there's no room for that. You don't have to reinforce that, you know. Really get yourself back to that beautiful love of playing the songs, playing with other people, learning new things. It's a lifetime of learning and amazing. So, are you guys, do you have stress when you're practicing at all? Or is it, or performance anxiety, things like that? That can feel a little stressful.
Performance anxiety for sure. Although I played for many, many years, and now it's been so long that I say I'm going to play a song at the next club meeting, and then I go, no, I'm too shy, I'm too scared.
Well, I want to talk about the performance because, you know, you can play an instrument and never perform, and that's totally fine. If you get the joy out of just playing the tunes at home on your own, that's fine. But I think a part of every one of us that picks up an instrument can see the beauty of playing it for other people. I mean, music is human, in my opinion. So, but when we think of that performance, a lot of times, maybe you perform if you're not ready. And then if you're not quite secure in the song, that's going to give you anxiety.
Yeah,
You know?
I've experienced that before for sure.
I mean, but part of me sometimes is like, I could play this song 10,000 times and still not feel like it's ready. So you have to kind of push yourself out of the nest sometimes to just, especially if you're in a nice, comfortable place like ukulele club where everybody would support you no matter what.
That's true.
But sometimes we get anxious if we're wondering, what do we practice? What are we supposed to do when we pick up our instrument? Is it always the same thing? Do we have a routine? Is there something everybody needs to know? Sometimes we're comparing ourselves. Sometimes we doubt ourselves. But I just have to say, it's never too late. It's never, I mean, to just have the joy, we all should strive for that. You know, pick it up. It doesn't matter how old you are, how young you are. It doesn't matter. I mean, I just read someone who was 80 just got their PhD. You know, you
Wow.
just go after it and enjoy it. Sometimes we've had creative disappointments. Sometimes maybe you did go perform and you did a big error and somebody said, wow, you really sounded like crap. Sometimes people point it out. And that can cause anxiety in your practice and the mistakes. I think I said that too. But
I was thinking, I haven't really sung much up until recently. And, a couple of years ago, I was doing a duo gig and I normally don't sing at all. And I just sort of decided that I was going to sing a song. And then the club owner, after I was finished, the club owner came up to me and he said, never, ever sing that song ever again.
Oh, no.
Right?
Wow.
So, like, the way that he said it, like, it just kind of left me there, like, oh God, like, was it that bad? Like, it couldn't have been, because so
maybe
so
he
yeah,
just doesn't like the song too.
that
I
could
mean,
be,
it could
who
have been
knows?
that.
But that wasn't what I
mean,
was getting.
John just felt like it was a reflection on him, and he didn't sing for a long time, but he has a wonderful voice. So even if someone doesn't like your voice, that's really no reason
Well,
to have stress if you really enjoy singing.
the point, I think the point that I was really trying to make is that just the whole premise of, like, don't let your past experiences define what you do going forward. Your past is not your future.
Right. Exactly. So let's talk a little bit. So, what do I practice? So, what I've done is I put together a practice journal, and some of you have earned it from me. If you don't have it though, I'm willing to just send you a digital copy. So maybe we could put my email address in the chat.
We keep losing your video, Jules.
What's that?
We're losing your video.
Oh, really?
Really?
Is everybody else seeing that, or is it just me?
Off and on it goes on, but it always comes back.
Yeah.
People are not all on mute is the problem. I went through that the other day. And everybody has to be on mute.
Oh, we should probably mute, because what happens is it switches to the speaker view
Yeah.
if somebody's making a. Okay.
Let's see. How about if I do this? How about if I?
You can pin us to the top.
Yeah.
And then you can see us. Okay, so what I realized too is I was incredibly unorganized and I wasn't setting goals. I was setting some goals because I'm like, I got to learn this song for this gig. So the goals were there for me. But then I realized I do have personal goals of things that I really wanted to play. So there's a sheet in my practice. I call it a practice journal, but it's for setting goals. Like, I want to be able to play a major scale at 120 beats per minute. That's a very, very specific goal. But then you also could say, I really want to do an open mic night at the coffee shop down the street, you know? So let's break that goal down. I want to play a Simon and Garfunkel tune, 2 of those, and I'm going to do it in March of 2022, you know? Hello, darkness, my old friend. We're already started. But I would just take a little bit of time to think about what kind of goals you want to achieve over the next few months. And you could have big goals, you can have little goals. Really being deliberate with your practice will help those goals come into reality. So, and then also you can break them down into, like, say, there's, what is that Simon and Garfunkel tune that has a real crazy beginning? Or is it Jim Croce? There's this crazy little chord thing that happens in one of a Simon and Garfunkel tune. I can't remember. I'll find it. But, you know, if it's a really crazy technique in a song, that really pushes you to learn that technique. And we've done that in our Tuesday ukulele class, right? We've said, we're going to learn the Pachelbel canon. And that was really hard for everybody, but that was a pretty specific thing, that once you learn that piece, you can spread it out. And
we haven't played it in forever.
We're going to bring that back in September.
Could we play that in ukulele club sometime? I'd love to.
Oh, we should. The trouble is it's 4 parts.
Well, we usually have at least 4 people. I don't know.
Well, we can't play all at once. That's the trouble.
Yeah.
Maybe
that's also
for our
true. Yeah.
next video.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
That's right. Maybe we should do like a, okay.
We've been talking about a video. Okay, sorry, that's something else. So we've talked about preparing for a performance, and that can answer the question, what to practice. Comparison and self-doubt. I mean, we could do that till the cows come home, and I think that's probably a human thing that we do, but absolutely it doesn't really have a place in practice unless you're looking at your goals and saying, I really want to play like Orianthi, and I love how she did Voodoo Child, so then we're going to study that song. But we don't have to look at her and go, I am 4 years away from ever playing like her, or I'll never be able to play like her. That really doesn't solve any troubles. But sometimes what I would do is just write it down. Like, if Joe Satriani was here right now, he would think I sucked. And then I read it and I go, no, he wouldn't.
Right, exactly.
Or whatever. I mean, just putting it into words can sometimes do that. But if you feel those kinds of feelings and thoughts coming into your practice, that's a time to notice it, take a break, go get a drink of water, and come back, you know. And then the more that you can recognize these thoughts, these negative thoughts coming in, you can push them aside.
Can I add something? So one of the things I wanted to say about that too, you know, I heard somebody recently talking about an unrelated topic, but I loved what he said, and I think it matters here. What he said was, never compare yourselves to others, and instead compare yourself to you yesterday.
That's good.
And a big reason for that is because, you know, like if you watch somebody who's really amazing at what they do, and they tell you that it's like, oh, it just comes naturally. You know what? They're lying. They're lying to you.
Oh, that's one
They've
thing
been
I should
practicing their whole lives to be able to do that. So, I mean, honestly, just about everybody that I've ever met that's really amazing at what they do, it's because they put the time in. So, so to watch somebody and watch them appear to do things naturally and think, I'll never be able to do that, I think
comparing your
you're comparing your,
weaknesses to their strength.
well,
And they have weaknesses too.
and you're comparing their outside to your inside. You don't have the whole story about what they've gone through.
That's true.
You know, you only know what you've gone through. So, you know, if you're doing a little better today than you were yesterday, then you're on the right track.
Yes.
You know, and I think that's my 2 cents. There you go.
But you really have to be aware with how it's making you feel. Of course, we could look at anybody who's a really amazing. I could look at John, and if I am inspired by him, and if I'm thinking, oh, what he does right there is so cool, I want to do that, and that's going to feel good inside. But if we're thinking, I could never do that, well, that's just not true, because we really can do anything.
Believe me, if I can learn how to do something, anybody can learn how to do something. I'm living proof of that.
There is no special talent when
No.
it comes to music. I don't think that people are gifted or non-gifted.
Yeah,
In fact, I should mention this. I had a student who really surprised me. I mean, I was thinking, there's no way this kid's going to do anything. I mean, he just never practiced. He would come every week and he would do what I asked, but, you know, he just wasn't into it. And then we did a recital, and he worked and worked and worked on a song. And he got it. And then he was like, I never want to do that again. So I thought, okay, well, maybe it was just too stressful for him. But then his mom came up to me, and it was right at the end of the summer, like, okay, this was the last lesson of summer. Does he have potential? And I didn't say, no, he really should quit, because I saw him work really hard on that one song. And I just told her with him right there, I was like, you know what? He has so much talent, and I think he could do anything he ever wanted to if he decided. And then something happened, and he just threw himself into the guitar. And he said, you know what? The guitar, it gets right into your heart, and you become addicted. He said that.
Yeah.
And I was like, I didn't even see that coming. It was so cool. And, you know, it's whatever you put into it, that's what you're going to get out.
Yeah.
All right, so we've got...
Can I?
Oh,
Okay. So, since she's talking about that, I used to teach in a little mom and pop music store called Walpole Music years ago, and I will never forget. This kid came in one day. He would have been about 14, 15 years old, long, dirty blonde hair, and he was just so enthusiastic about about music and just being able to play. And that kid practiced more than twice as much as any other 4 students that I had, and he's gone on to become one of the most gifted guitar players I know. In fact, he's here. His name's Steve Marchena. He's he's just a few years younger than me. I taught him when many moons ago, and he's gone on to be a really successful, really super talented musician. So,
Well, would Steve open his videos so we could meet him?
Well,
Uh-oh, what?
I'm not sure what he's doing right now.
Oh, okay.
He's watching this and taking a shower. Probably not.
If he wants to.
I'm going to leave that up to him. But I just wanted to, sort of put that out there that, there's
enthusiasm
the
goes so
enthusiasm.
far.
Yeah, it really makes a lot of difference.
Yeah. Okay, so we've talked a little bit about disappointments, and we've talked about the mistakes. And all of those things are completely normal and completely natural. And if you can take the mistakes, and instead of seeing them as terrible big monsters, like only poor musicians make mistakes, you realize you have a whole life of mistakes. You can embrace them. We learn so much from them, and we all have them. Some of us don't have them on national television, like that poor Jonas brother.
Oh.
He had a big botch. But okay, anyway, so
I love the way he handles that, though.
those, I just want to say, as I'm leaving the topic of causes of anxiety, just really pay attention to how these things make you feel. If they're causing you to not want to practice out of fear, then you have to really look at them and see how big they are, how much space they're taking up in your life and in your heart. We don't really have space for those types of things. And it takes a little bit of practice getting rid of them, but it's so worth it. If you just make yourself aware, you notice the thoughts drifting in, you push them away, all right? So I really want to talk about, I kind of want to talk about this first before that.
Sure.
So like I talked about my practice journal. Again, did you put my email? If you want it, I'll email it to you, but there's a section on goal setting, and then there's a section for your daily practice.
Would you put your email on?
Just put my email in the chat. We'll put it in the chat if you want a digital copy of my practice journal. But sometimes you need to take a look at what you already know, because sometimes we don't really know what we don't know, if that makes sense. But I really encourage you, if you don't have a teacher, there is a lot of, I think people are very proud of being self-taught, and I don't think that there's anything wrong with that. I personally have been taking lessons since I was 15 years old. I've had a lifetime of lessons, and I think I would just not be where I am today without them. So I don't think there's anything wrong with having a teacher. So the teacher is going to help you understand what you don't know and guide you in a way to figure out what you want to know and how it will support your goals. So maybe take some time to figure out, I know these songs, I know these chords, I know these strumming patterns, those things that are really important to you, these techniques. John and I have a whole list of techniques that we're going to talk about in just a minute, but just kind of do a little inventory, a musical inventory of what you currently know. And then if you do get a teacher or you're looking on YouTube, okay, things I need to know, there's millions of lists if you Google it. You could go, oh, I don't really know how to do that, and I don't really know how to do that. And maybe that could be a goal as you move forward. But having that time to think about it and write it down and see where you are, it's really, really important. And it can also relieve some of the anxiety, like when you pick up your instrument and you go, what do I do? You know?
Right.
All right, so now I just released an album. Yay! This is my shameless plug. Remember how I was talking about how I had so much crippling anxiety, I didn't know what to do, and I needed a practice affirmation. Well, I made my own, and I played it for somebody, and the first person I played it for was like, oh my gosh, I need this so bad. And then the next person, I just wanted to see what they thought, if they thought it was cheesy or whatever. And I thought there might be a little bit of cheese in it, but in the end,
Beautiful.
it's helpful. So I thought, you know what? I'm going to do it. And really, this has been on my heart.
That was me, by the way, that she played it for. She played it for me, and I just went, oh my God.
I played it for a few people, and they were all,
Yeah.
It was so encouraging that I was like, I need to do this. The first one I did, the sounds weren't very good, and my microphone had a buzz, and I thought, I need to get rid of that. And I love journaling, and I love planning. I have this daily planner. I do monthly planning and weekly planning, and I've gotten myself organized. And I had those practice affirmations on my planner probably for 8 months, and I finally did it. So it doesn't matter if you have to just keep writing it for the next day or the next week. Sometimes we're a little slow, like a crock pot. But anyway, I'm really excited to share one with you tonight. You can, I made a video of one of them. It's called Uplift. And let me just tell you, I'll give you a little synopsis of what each one is. It's 5 minutes long. It's like a guided meditation. And it's just to help you set up your practice session. Just clear your mind. You know, have you ever done a yoga class where at the end they have Shavasana? And it's called final resting pose, and you just release and relax. like, that should be at the beginning. That should be at the beginning of the session to help us get relaxed. But that's kind of why I decided to start my practice sessions with this. So, do you want to play it?
Do we want to play the video?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Or do you want to just play the recording? Well, I made the video.
Where is it?
It's on
Where-
YouTube.
Okay.
I'll send you a link. Or you could just find it
Oh,
on.
there it is. I think that's it.
Oh, there it is. Okay, here it is. So it's totally not a big deal if this doesn't help you. But I just want to share what works for me. Because I've had to come through a lot of anxiety. Share sound. Yeah. Okay. We'll start it, and then if it's not working or you can't hear it, just raise your hand.
Close your eyes. Draw your attention to your heart. Feel your body relax as you focus on the steady pulse of your heartbeat. Breathe. Faith is confidence in what we hope for and assurance about what we do not see. You have faith your heart will continue to beat, and you don't even see it. When you pick up your instrument, you have faith you will improve, even if you can't see it now. You pick it up because you know it brings you joy. Focus on the joy. When negative thoughts drift in, bring yourself back to this moment. What it feels like to experience your faith, hope, and your joy. As you quiet your mind, notice any tension and release. Release it out of your neck and shoulders. Slowly move your head from left to right. Raise your shoulders up and release them. Clench your hands into a fist and release. We will take 3 cleansing breaths. I will walk you through each one. Inhale, 2, 3, 4. Hold, 2, 3, 4. Exhale, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Inhale, 2, 3, 4. Hold, 2, 3, 4. Exhale, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Inhale, 2, 3, 4. Hold, 2, 3, 4. Exhale, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Let's take 30 seconds so you can center yourself and calm your body and mind. Then I will recite the practice affirmation. I have faith in my abilities, and I know over time I will accomplish my goals. If you find your thoughts drifting during your practice session, repeat this exercise.
Oh, I stopped it. Oh.
That was beautiful.
Oh, good. It's not playing. Thank
It
you.
really was. I
So
feel
that's
so
great.
peaceful now.
Yeah, that's what it's designed to do. So you can, when you start it out relaxed and at peace, then those negative emotions and things, they really feel strong, and you're able to recognize them right away. So that's kind of what I've noticed over time, is I've been able to push them away easier and easier if I start in a place of peace. Anyway.
It was really nice. I was just afraid your electric guitars were going to fall in the lake.
I know.
Well, the lake was pretty shallow, actually. So it looks like Diane had a question. Diane, did you have a question?
You're on mute.
Yeah, so, yeah, if you have a question, I think you need to unmute yourself.
She's figuring it out.
Oh.
I can't remember what my question was, but I did like your faith statements. I will say that. Now I know what I was going to say, that you should go on YouTube and do that, so that, you know, like, it's kind of like when you're going to sleep at night and you can't go to sleep, and you can put all those different things on, that when we sit down, we could go to YouTube and there you'd be.
Yeah.
Well, that one is on YouTube. If you want, we could put the link. I'll send it
I'll
out.
find it.
So it's like, well, we'll put the link. I really just put it up today, so it'd be easier to share. Oh yay, there it is. Okay, so John will get the link for us. It's a different experience. It really helped me. It's okay if it doesn't help you. Like, people, everybody's different. That's kind of what I want to say.
Yeah. So I just put the link in the chat.
We're gone for some
Whoops.
reason.
Yeah.
Oh, wait.
Don't,
But
do you have that on somewhere I can buy it?
Oh, as a matter of fact, we do. We should probably put the album link.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was looking all over, couldn't find it.
The battery died on the camera.
We had the fancy camera.
So hold on, I'm
battery
gonna
died.
change the battery out. On the fancy
All right.
camera.
So let me get a little closer so I can get the link. We have lots of links. We weren't prepared.
Yes, we were.
We were winging it.
I bought it on Bandcamp. So I don't know. I discovered it when there's a guy that I bought. I wanted to support him, so I got his album on there. So he's an independent, guitar player. And then I found a movie a TV show in Australia that I liked, and I love the soundtrack. So I was able to find the soundtrack there. So I guess it's just, you can buy different pieces of music or albums.
Yeah.
And download them digitally. So I have it on my iPad, so I can carry it around with me and listen. So
That's wonderful. John was the one who told me to do this. It would have taken too long to get it all up on iTunes. They told me it would be like 3 to 4 days, and then when I, oops, don't want to. Sorry, I'm trying to do two.
Found it.
So when I tried to upload it, I got a message that said, "Oh, it's going to take 6 to 8 weeks," and I did it last week.
And
So,
Julie,
okay.
I clicked on the link in your email today about tonight and then the Wellspring. And when you click on that, there's an option to buy it there
Oh,
as
good. Yeah.
well.
So it is. It is in the email too. Yeah.
Yeah, very easy.
Oh, goody. Oh boy, that looks
Yeah.
way better.
That's much nicer, isn't it?
We got prettier lights. Yep. Okay, so we've got the video, we've got the album. So the album has 7 of those. They're all in very similar format, but all different music, because that's how we do it.
Mm-hmm.
John did a couple of them, the music for them, and then yeah.
And then
so
you did most of it. And
we
you- and
we
Ju-
thought it would be boring to do the same one every day. Although when I was working at Tower Records and Video, I bought a yoga video in the 90s, and I found it on this app called Gaia. So I've been doing the same video for 20 years. It's PM Yoga with Patricia Walden. And you know what's really weird? She actually lives in Cambridge. Her yoga classes are really fancy. I don't think I could do it. You have to be able to do
And how
headstands.
old is she now?
I don't
She's in
know.
her 70s, isn't she?
I don't know. 60s. She does these crazy back bends. But anyway, that's a whole nother thing. So why don't we talk about, I'm just going to give a list of things that we think are kind of important to work on as string musicians.
Look at the cat.
Rosalind's kitty is super comfortable. Do you want to talk about these neat things?
She's enjoying your presentation here.
Oh, thank you. Okay, so where are we?
We're
So
going to
we're
talk
here.
about, this is just a list of things that we think are important to work on.
Yeah. Okay. So I
No
mean,
practicing.
yeah. So this kind of goes back to what we were talking about before about, about head, hands, and heart. I mean, the ultimate goal when you're practicing is you just want to be able to have more skills to bring to the table when you're performing. Sometimes what happens is it's kind of easy to get caught up in spending a little bit too much time in technical stuff. So I like to look for a balance, and that's why I came up with the head, hands, and heart thing we were talking about earlier. Is there a pick handy?
Oh, sure.
Okay, so so Julie put together a list: scales, arpeggios, chords, ear training, music theory, reading, improvisation, rhythm, intonation, interpretation, songs, repertoire, and then creative expression. Now, if we'll send you that whole list, but it's basically just different parts of being a musician. Of course, when you're playing a song, when I think about practicing scales, I do spend a fair amount of time practicing scales. But as I practice them, I don't think of them as something that I'll use verbatim when I'm performing. Running a scale fingering is like trying to remember, trying to remember the letters of the alphabet. Now, the thing that's tricky about playing scales on guitar, it's like imagine sitting at a typewriter, and then every day that you sit down at the typewriter, they move all the letters. So that's kind of what it is to learn how to play scales on guitar. Is and every time you move your hand to a different position, all the letters have moved. So everything's a little bit different. So you kind of have to practice how that works. Now, thankfully, on a guitar, if they move all the letters, the moving of the letters actually does form a pattern, which is kind of beyond the scope of our conversation tonight. But so when I practice scales, I'm just trying to remind myself of how those things work. So I will, a lot of times I'll pick a key and either spend my entire practice session in that key. So let's say I've picked A flat for today. So here's an A flat chord.
but just writing A through Z.
Right. So that's kind of what I'll do is I'll just kind of put my hand in different positions of the guitar and try to play the same notes but in different ranges, and then just see how long it takes me to get comfortable with that. Then another thing might be arpeggios. Arpeggios are just chords played one note at a time. So that's all the notes put together. That's all the notes played one at a time. So
And you can see the difference between practicing a scale and an arpeggio. It's a different technique and a different sound. But
Yeah.
they're all beneficial.
yeah, then chords. There's a lot of different ways to play. I'm playing an A flat chord right now. So, and there's a lot of ways to do it.
How long it would take to play all the chords.
Oh yeah, okay. So I read this book by a jazz guitar player by the name of George Van Epps. In the opening sentence, he talks about a mathematical formula that demonstrates that if you were to work playing one chord per second, 7 days a week, 7 days a week, one chord per second, it would take you, I think he said 11,000 years to play every single chord that's possible on the guitar. 11,000 years. Now, why that might be important to know is because the 12-tone system of music that we use today, known as equal temperament tuning, is only about 400 years old. So to me, that makes a really good argument when people say to me, it's like, oh, all the chords, it's all been done. There are no new chords. There are no new chord progressions. And it's like, I defy you. Like, I don't know anybody that has been playing, that has played every single chord possible on guitar. Never mind all the rest of the instruments that are out there. So, I don't know.
But it's an important thing to learn.
Yeah.
And it just gives you new sounds to work with. It's almost like we could color out of the 8-pack of crayons, or we could color out of the 64-pack with the sharpener on the back.
Well, yeah, and there's two things that are important to remember. One is that you won't learn all of it because there's just not enough time. Two, that there's a lot more to know than you might think there is. So there's kind of a balance in there somewhere.
But don't let it disappoint you that there are so many.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. So what's next?
So that's all. I just want to talk about the songs and repertoire too.
Mm-hmm.
Say you have a list of 10 songs that you're really good at. It doesn't mean, oh, I don't need to think about those songs anymore. I always encourage my students to just keep playing those songs that they know. You don't want to forget those wonderful songs, and you might discover a new way to play your old songs if you're bored with them.
Yeah. Yeah, in fact, that was kind of how we came across, like that song that we played at the beginning of the session was an old Huey Lewis and the News tune that, Juli played in an 80s band called Fast Times for quite a few years. And that was one of their staple tunes was The Power of Love. So, in that one...
yeah, it goes da-na-na-na-na-na-na.
Yeah.
But I just played it real slow and kind of bluesy, and I said, John, listen, let's do this. And then he was like, oh, cool. Look at the chords at the intro. And then he made this beautiful little melody out of the beginning that nobody would know that's The Power of Love.
Yeah, when that was so that part right there is just basic. Well, in the original, don't take money, don't take time. Right, so just garden variety chords. So what I did with it was just kind of made each chord prettier.
The chorus is different. Don't take money, don't take fame, don't need no credit card to ride this train. It's strong and it's sudden cruel sometimes, but it might just save your life. That's creative expression. change things around if you want. We
That,
can do
that
that.
was such a great rendition of it. And when I realized I knew what the song was, it was even better, to know the Huey Lewis version. But what you guys did with it was is so beautiful, really nice.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I love it.
We Julie and Jonified it.
Yeah, we definitely did. But a lot of that, I mean, it's like when you sing stuff like that, you bring such a different energy than somebody like Huey Lewis would bring to it.
Well, I can't be Huey Lewis.
Right. So you can only do things the way that you do them, but also you also have the courage to do it that way.
Well, it took me a while.
Yeah.
When we were talking about the anxiety, I mean, my favorite guitar players growing up, Joe Satriani and Steve Vai, and I just kept trying to sound like them. Oh, this microphone cable. I'm sorry.
Cable.
I kept trying to sound like them. And then there were things I'm like, why do I sound like that instead of that? And then I realized, wait, those are the things that make me sound like me. Maybe I should try to listen to it in a different way. And then I started to think, okay, I like how I sound. It's okay that I
Yeah.
don't sound like them. And
Yeah.
then when you can let go, there's this new freedom. You're not, the anxiety left, basically. I just felt free.
And,
The nice thing about writing your own music, and Gary and I, when we used to play together, we played all these cover tunes, and you always have to try and make it sound like the album. And you play the same chords, the same riffs, everything. And then we started writing our own, and all of a sudden that whole pressure of trying to sound like somebody else is gone. You
Right.
create what you want to create, and it cuts out all the work.
You're right.
Well-
It's working a different way.
Yeah, it's and the other, I think the other thing that might be worth too is that your own personal style is typically built based on two elements. The first is stuff you like to play. The second is stuff you can't do. Now, which is an interesting sort of thing. I know for myself. There was there's a couple of techniques that I avoided doing for a long time because I was just never good at them, but I didn't realize that I was avoiding it. I was just sort of avoiding it because I wasn't good at it. Like I would try certain techniques and just think, oh, God, it just sounds terrible. So I just would try to find these little workarounds so that I wouldn't have to do that. But then over time, at one point I sort of realized that there was this one technique that I've been avoiding that I really needed to address it. So I finally did after playing guitar for like 40 years. I finally said, okay, all right, 40 years is enough time to procrastinate, and maybe it's time to do something. But
Well, actually, speaking about this topic, okay, I wanted to say that on one of the practice affirmations, I talk about how it's okay to feel uncomfortable.
yes,
Sometimes we avoid the practice because we have to suck at something first. And that is very uncomfortable. And sometimes, like, when it feels uncomfortable, we just make the assumption that we'll just never be good at it. We're not talented. We don't have what it takes. But over time, you just keep chipping away at it, and it becomes less and less uncomfortable. And then pretty soon, you realize, wow, the things that were the hardest in that song are the things that are the most fun to play. There's this little moment of triumph when you figure it out. So embrace the discomfort. It doesn't mean you're doing anything wrong. So we went through our whole outline. Do you guys have anything to ask us? John's going to get a new cable because this one's bad. Remember, you're all on mute too.
Rosalind, I love your kitties.
The kittens are cute.
Thank you. Yeah, they decided to join me today. Probably because I don't have a ukulele in my hand that's getting in their way.
Hard to snuggle in there.
Julie, I was going to say that all that you and John have talked about tonight has really resonated with me, although I know there are people on here who are accomplished musicians. And then there are, those of us who are whacking away at the ukulele, but, happy that a song that we didn't play for 2 years, we played the last time we were with you, and it was so much easier to play.
Oh,
And just
yeah.
imagining, um, I mean, a lot of what you said about not comparing yourself to each other. I this has been terrific, and
Oh,
thank
I'm so
you and
glad.
John both. And also the stylization, if that's the word, of the power of love that you did. Um, Even in the simple songs that we're playing on the ukulele, the simpler songs, um, I feel like it's time, at least for me, to start putting in that personalization or hearing the song a little
Xanify.
bit differently. And even with Glory of Love, Julie, which those of not everyone might know that, but we play Glory of Love almost every week.
We do.
um but
Our
it's
jam.
yeah, it's time to like just
Take them up a notch, maybe.
yeah,
Brush
yeah.
them up. Yeah.
This has just been terrific, and I thank you both.
Well, I want to point out too that if you have learned a song, if you can play a song from beginning to end, I consider you an accomplished musician. I mean, there's different levels, of course. Like John and I make a living playing music. It's our life, really. But being able to sit in your home, pick up your instrument, and play a tune, that is something to be incredibly proud of. And you do it every week. I mean, we've been going now for how long?
Almost 3 years.
3 years. You see,
Almost 3 years. Yeah. Yeah.
something. I lost sight of that too because I was talking to a friend of mine, like, I really just want a job. I've had so many jobs in my life. I have been a manicurist. I worked in restaurants. I served cocktails. What else did I do, John?
Well, you were a middle school.
Oh,
You were a middle school gym teacher for
I
a day.
subbed as a gym teacher. Me. I've done so many jobs. And my friend was like, Jolie, you've been a professional musician since you were 17. You've been doing it for 35 years. And I realized, oh my gosh, you're right. I've done it alongside all these jobs. But now finally, it's just this. So
I just want to chime in just a minute here. I haven't been with you because I've been so busy with my my French horn and my organ, but I'm glad that I joined this session because yesterday I played the organ in church and I was terrified. And I did it and I made a lot of mistakes. I give myself a C plus, but I did it. And this session has been really helpful about the anxiety stuff. Thank you.
good. I'm so glad. And I'm very proud of you. That's cool. You know, playing in church is something. Oh, are you out of here? Are you leaving?
No, I'm here.
Yeah, I just had a question. I had a question. So you recommend playing the affirmations before we start practice?
Yes.
Yeah, I think so because, I mean, you can choose to do it at the end, but I feel like starting out that way, it just relaxes you. You have a chance to get the blood moving into your hands a little bit. And it's almost like clearing off the palette, like an Etch-a-Sketch when you shake it upside down. There's nothing written on there. Just try it and see. And then I said in there, if you feel like the negativity is building or you've got a lot of tension, just stop what you're doing, put it on again, and listen to it again. You know.
I listened to some of them this afternoon, not with the intent to start practicing, but I just wanted to hear what this was really all about. But doing it tonight, I can see where it's that walking through the doorway of your life, your busy life, your everyday life, everything else.
Yeah.
Come through the doorway with this 5 minute affirmation, and then you're in a better, at least for me, I can see it taking me out of my hecticness to really say, okay, this is your time now. practice, whether it's 10 minutes or a half hour or 10 hours.
10 hours.
Yeah,
I mean, it's just, it's a gift to ourselves. And I think we forget how much we love playing. We think, oh, we got to practice. But what could be more exciting than picking up your beloved instrument?
that's true.
I think of it too.
That's really true. And you know and the thing, one of the things I really appreciate and like about these practice affirmations is that it's a nice way to announce to yourself that you're about to sit and practice guitar, like just like you were saying,
Or ukulele.
or ukulele,
Or
either
voice
way,
or organ.
or voice or organ or French horn. You know, I love that. By the way, Trudy, I love the fact that you play French horn. I didn't know
Me
that.
too. It's so cool.
But yeah, anything like that that puts you in enough of a state of mind so that you can relax and enjoy the process. And actually, one of the things I just wanted to mention too, studies have actually shown that the more relaxed you are when you're trying to learn something, that there's something about that relaxed state that allows information to come into you more easily. So you know that's one of the things. Those practice affirmations, they're meant to kind of put you in sort of a zen-like kind of a state when you start your thing. And
Don't worry though, we didn't put any subliminal messages in there.
Yes, well,
Go rob a bank and give Julie $10,000. That none of that.
no, I took that one out.
Okay.
But no,
But I did buy your album.
Oh, good. Thank you.
yeah, nice. All right, so
Yeah,
that
that's
was
it. All right. Well, I wanted to thank you all for giving us this opportunity to share. We'd still love to take any questions. We don't have to go, but I'm just so excited, and I would love if you do use them and it helps you in some way. That would be such a blessing to know. So I encourage you to try it, and then also tell me if it works. That would be cool.
Julie,
Yes.
I just was wondering if you, you and John do you organize your practice into, do you kind of compartmentalize it? Like I'm gonna do 5 minutes of the scales, I'm gonna do 5 minutes of progressions, I'm gonna do 5 minutes of working on my favorite song. Because I tend to just kind of ramble and jump from one thing to the next. I feel like my practice is kind of just here and there. I just kind of play and do what I feel like, and I get bored pretty quickly with songs. And so I just kind of wondered, do you kind of have a methodology to?
I like to, but I don't do it that way all the time. I got into this zone where I was doing scales and arpeggios, and I loved it, like 10 minutes of scales and then 10 minutes of arpeggios, and I had a key for every week. But then sometimes, like today, I saw this cool video about playing arpeggios over 2-5-1. So I spent a whole afternoon just playing through that.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And then I was like, oh, I need to learn 3 songs for the gig next week. I got to just drop everything and do that.
Right.
So, you know, what I tend to do, you know, what I tend to do is I tend to kind of start with the most low-hanging fruit. You know, in other words, if there's a gig coming up that I have to learn 6 songs for, then I'm gonna start there and learn the 6 songs. If I've been playing a bunch of gigs and just noticing that every time I try to use my pinky isn't as strong as the rest of my fingers, then I'm going to start working on ways to improve my pinky. So my practice routine changes from day to day. You know, and that's actually why why I came up with that head, hands, and heart approach, because what I found was that for me, practicing differently every day is important, but it might not be the same for everybody. So what I would say is, Lance, in your case, if it depends on what you want. If you're really trying to get better, then it might be good to dedicate a certain amount of your practice to some disciplined things that will that are sort of the ukulele equivalent of doing push-ups, whatever that might be, right? So either strum patterns or switching chords or maybe scale patterns or, you know, a song that you're working on that might be something that's difficult. It doesn't have to be the same thing every day, but
If
it
you're
kind of
interested in
yeah.
the practice challenge videos.
Yeah, go ahead. So Julie has some practice challenge videos that she's going to share too.
Well, a couple months ago, I did a whole month of practice challenge just for like a big hurrah at the end of the year for my students. Because so many of them it was probably COVID related, but I didn't get a chance to practice, you know, so I thought, I wonder if I can bribe them into practicing. So I offered a prize and they did it. And then someone said, do you have these for ukulele? I saw that you're doing this practice challenge. So I was like, oh my gosh, I need to do that too. So I have 4 weeks of a challenge. It's about 10 minutes a day, I think 5 minutes of scales and 5 minutes of chords. But I'll put them in here.
Yeah, okay.
In the chat so you can kind of see.
Yeah, so we're gonna put those in. So I mean, you know, one of the things that I often talk about with you know with younger students, and I think it applies to everybody really, is that if well, actually, you know, one of the primary things I tell them is start by tuning. You know, pick up your instrument, tune first. The reason why you tune first is because if your instrument is in tune, it will sound better. And if your instrument sounds better, it's more satisfying to play. If it's more satisfying, it's more fun. If it's more fun, you'll want to do it more. If you do it more, you get better. Okay? So tuning your instrument is a great place to start, I think.
Yeah, that's huge.
Yeah, it really is. You know, and then just, okay, so go ahead.
Oh, no, go.
No, that's it.
I was just grabbing it to get ready.
Okay, go ahead. It's all you.
Did I cut you off?
Nope.
I'm sorry. I put in the chat, oh, bye, Suzanne. Oh, she's gone.
Oh, bye, Suzanne.
So week 1 of the 4-week practice challenge, and it's just a booklet. It has guitar, level 1, level 2, and then also the ukulele. And there are videos too, if you want to play along with me, if you feel like you're interested. But there's so many nice videos of strumming that aren't just song related. But I know how you feel. Like some days you just want to feel like you're doing something technical. It feels really good to practice that.
Yeah.
And to just say, I don't really care about a song right now.
Yeah, absolutely.
Great question.
I have a question for you. I see you're in a room. Do you have a specific practice room set up or something?
We have actually a few. This is we call it our jam room.
Yeah.
We have band practices up here. We make videos.
This is this room is like in the like in the second floor of our garage.
Huh.
So it's kind of like a bonus room.
And then where we do ukulele club, and I've done all my Zoom meetings, is in my office downstairs. And John has an office.
Yeah. So this building, you know, it's like a garage, but there's also 3 offices in it. So
we teach lessons before the pandemic.
Mm-hmm. Right.
We also
and maybe after.
Yeah.
We also have a music room in the house. We have a piano and guitar amps and fun stuff in there too.
Yeah. So we're pretty much music all the time.
We have guitars in our
yeah.
in case we wake up and want to jam.
Yeah.
Because I have the room to do something like that, but I have so much junk that I've collected over like way too long that there's sort of rearranging my house to facilitate the music room thing is kind of completely overwhelming. So I've kind of the room that you always see me in. This is kind of like the biggest room in my house is just the one where I feel really comfortable hanging out. So I tend to practice in here too. So I guess doing it where you're comfortable is not a bad idea.
Having anywhere is comfortable, but having a little sacred music place is kind of nice too for your spirit.
So you sort of dedicate one part of your house to.
I like
when I'm in here, I do music. Yeah.
Yeah, I like to have my instruments out because sometimes I go, oh, it's in the case. How long does it take to take it out of the case? But
I like the cases; they keep the dust off.
No practice. Well, that's true too. No dust, but
If you're playing it, it won't get dusty.
Well, we have
That's true.
True.
how many guitars? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5,
Oh,
6,
20
7.
something, yeah.
There's 8
Yeah.
in this room. It's fun.
Yeah, so, you know, and that's one of the things I think about is that I like to have a practice space set up so that it doesn't take me a long time from the moment I decide that I'm going to practice to the actual ability to practice. If I'm not careful, sometimes it can take a really long time to get everything ready. And,
Right.
you know, if it takes me 45 minutes to get everything ready and I only have 45 minutes,
Right. Then you're not going to practice, right?
Causes more
Right.
anxiety.
Right.
And then
Yeah.
you gotta get up and get a cable, and then you get up and get a pencil, and then you say, "Oh, I don't have a pick.
Mhm.
Oh no, where's my guitar stand? Oh, my footstools."
yeah, so,
So-
you know, for example, one of the things that I do is that if I have a gig on a Saturday night, I'll go play the gig, and then I'll come home and then take everything out of the car, and bring it into the house and set it up. And you know,
It's a
which
lot of work,
yeah,
right?
it's a fair amount of work. But the thing about that is that allows me the opportunity, like a faster, more convenient opportunity to practice. You know, so I just think about, you know, getting everything you know, in the house and set up as part of my routine for gigging.
Because we know that if we have to set up, we go, "Oh, I'll do it later."
Yeah.
Procrastinating. Who does that? I don't. What are you saying, John? Procrastinate tomorrow.
Procrastinate tomorrow. That's
Right.
Yeah, I was going to change my middle name to procrastination, but I couldn't get around to it.
oh, that's even better.
Perfection.
I'll
I
procrastinate.
like that. Procrastinate tomorrow.
Yeah, that's
to
great.
give people a ton of.
Well, there's a couple of ways you could read that.
Right. Serious.
Don't put off till tomorrow what you can do the day after.
There you go.
Yeah.
So very cool. All right. So,
That's it. I guess we're done.
Oh, they're finished.
That's the story.
It's the glory of love.
Is it-
That's the story. That's the glory of love. All right. Thanks so much, everyone, for joining us.
Thank you so much for doing this for us.
Were you able to get all of the links? We've got the YouTube link to Uplift, the Bandcamp link, the 4-week practice challenge.
I got that one.
All right, cool. And always, if you need to email with any questions, it's finmusic@gmail.com. Or if you have any questions. But
or john@johnfin.com too.
if you came to the Up Your Blues challenge or Up Your Blues workshop, I apologize. We've not put the video up on YouTube, but we have it. But I'm going to do that and this one tomorrow if you want to watch again. So thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye, everybody.